Hi guys, today we are going to look at word stress, how the meaning of a sentence changes when we emphasize a different word in the same sentence. So we are going to look at one sentence and we are going to change the stress or emphasize on a different word each time we say the sentence. The sentence is, I told you he murdered the gardener. So I told you he murdered the gardener, no stress, flat, simple sentence. Now you will see how the sentence changes, the meaning of the sentence changes when I stress on a different word. First, if I say, I told you he murdered the gardener, which means I told you, no one else told you, I told you. Second, if I stress on told, I told you he murdered the gardener, which means I actually told you, I didn't think it in my head or write it down, I told you. Next, now we will stress on he. I told you he murdered the gardener, which means that he is the person who is murdered. No one else has murdered the gardener. He has. Now we will stress on the next word. I told you he murdered. Murdered. Let's stress on murdered and see. I told you he murdered the gardener, which means I did tell you that he murdered. He didn't play with the gardener or have dinner with him. He murdered him. Next word. So we'll stress on the now. I told you he murdered the gardener, which means he murdered the gardener we're talking about, that particular gardener, not some other gardener, the gardener. And now, if we stress on the last word, gardener, I told you he murdered the gardener, which means I told you he murdered the gardener, not someone else, the mechanic, the cook, or someone else, just the gardener he murdered. So you see how stressing on a different word changes the entire meaning. Next time you're talking, try paying attention to which words you stress on because they really make a difference to the listener, the person who's listening to you. What is it that you are trying to imply? Word stress is very important in communication skills and spoken English. Like, follow, subscribe, share.